have you noticed this too, where parents are just not very responsive to your requests as a PTO, whether it's to participate in a fundraiser or come to a meeting or show up to volunteer somewhere, that parents are just like straight out tuning you out? At least that's what it feels like. Like, what the heck is going on? So I have a theory about this, and I want to see if you agree. So you can let me know after I get into it whether you agree with me or not, or kind of if you're seeing the same kind of things. Because I think this is like not just for any one particular PTO in particular, but I kind of think it's a global issue coming out of the pandemic where parents just don't understand what the point of PTO is. They've forgotten. They have not had the opportunity to experience on a firsthand basis like what PTO does, because it's kind of abstract, right? Well, not really abstract, but it's kind of to understand what the PTO does and like the reason for existence is not always clear at first blush, because there is kind of a disconnect between the fundraising work that we do and then the events and programs and ways that we give back to the school. Like, they are not happening in real time. You're usually fundraising at the beginning of the year and then using the rest of the year to kind of spend that money. Right? Now you've already pre-allocated everything based on your budget or your goal setting that you did over the summer, but you kind of already know where the money is going. You're banking on your fundraiser bringing in a set amount of money so that you can do those things. But like, the parents don't always see that is like connected unless they are involved in the PTO, like coming to meetings, being an officer, serving in a leadership capacity. They're just not getting it because they're seeing the fundraiser and then they're seeing that the event that the school is putting on, and they're giving the credit to the school, and the fundraiser is being attributed to the PTO, so that it can feel like all your PTO is doing is just really fundraising, because that's what the parents kind of see. I mean, people who choose not to understand are, what's the saying about the blind person, or the none so blind is the one who refuses to see? Kind of like that. Although that is kind of a very judgy statement, so we're not going to get into that. But I think coming out of the pandemic, here's the issue that I am seeing, especially in the lower elementary levels, or the elementary levels really. So like K through 6 maybe. Those parents have never ever experienced the PTOs functioning as normal. In many schools, the PTOs cannot function as they did pre-pandemic, where they were in the classrooms helping out, or in the school putting on events, having bingo nights, having special person dances, having carnivals, having movie nights, all of that good stuff. That stuff couldn't happen, right? Because we were just trying to get through the pandemic and we were trying to keep everyone safe and healthy. And so events couldn't happen, whether it was the decision of the PTO leaders, whether there was a lack of volunteers, or it was usually in most cases the schools just saying, we're going to cut back. We're just going to cut out anything extra and just focus on keeping everybody safe and healthy. Okay. So what that is translated into is for like 2+ years, parents don't see what the PTOs are doing. Like, they don't understand it. And oftentimes it's not until parents come to events and be like, like they'll talk with maybe there's like, they see people, a bunch of random parents in like the same matching t-shirts. And they're like, oh, now I get this. It's an event sponsored by the PTO. And that's why they were asking me to buy some cookie dough. Or that's why they were asking me to buy a calendar fundraiser. Why, hello there, Russell. And so really that is what you have been missing these last couple of years. Russell. So anyway, it's going to take some re-education. And I kind of feel like I could have this soapbox. So it's very appropriate to have my buddy Russell up here so I can talk to him about it. So I can have a soapbox to kind of go on and on about how I feel like parents need to be re-educated. Even students need to be re-educated. So at like the higher level, you have more of a collaboration between the students, parents, teachers for PTSOs or PTSAs, right? The students haven't been able to experience things. And it's like we have collective amnesia about why we're doing things. So you really have to spiffy up your sales pitch to make it more appealing, or appealing for the parents right now at this time, to help them understand why they need to get involved in the PTO. Because I just feel like there's been a fundamental misunderstanding. People, like I said, have either just gotten amnesia, and they are just blanking things out about what the PTOs are doing and why we exist, or they need to be re-educated because they didn't hear it the first time. The other major issue that I see is that institutional knowledge about how to run your PTOs have likely left the building since before the pandemic. And this is one issue that I see time and time again, where groups establish these fabulous things, but then it dies year over year because the details are not captured. The program is not written down. There's no information about how they came to get all the volunteers, like what methods they used. There's no event summary. There's no planning notes, none of that. All that has it just wasn't captured. And that's because groups don't have a system to capture those things. So if you're looking for a resource to kind of combat that issue, then I highly suggest you check out the PTO Success Kit. I will drop a link in the description below. This is a system that I created because I kept seeing this not only with my own group, but other groups too. Because remember, I get to meet a lot of groups in the PTO Superstar Leader group, and that is a free Facebook community. Again, there is a link up. I think you have to go to my homepage to get it, but again, I will drop a link in the description below to that community. So there's almost 8,000 members in there. And yes, some are from the same group, but I'd say, okay, so maybe I've met over 5,000 different groups across the world. We're not just limited to folks in the West. So there are legitimately leaders from all across the world, which totally blows my mind. But how fabulous is that we can all come together and share the information? But anyway, I've seen those other groups come in, and they are kind of talking about things that are symptomatic of this issue that I'm talking about today. And they are talking about how they are walking into a position and they weren't handed anything, or they were given a binder and it just had old flyers and no really actionable information. They're not sure what to do month over month. So the PTO Success Kit kind of gives a guide for every leader. It gives the fundraising chair the fundraising success kit, but in that you will find the fundraising formula, which talks about how to run a successful fundraiser. For the president, of course, there's the President's Success Kit. It has a monthly list of action items to take each month to make sure that you're staying on track for the year. For treasurers, there's a money management system with the Treasurer's Finance Manager, as well as the Treasurer's Success Kit that has the Treasurer's Planner, where you'll find a bunch of done-for-you forms, and you can even get them in a customizable format so that you can tweak it to fully suit the needs of your group. Basically, there is a resource for everybody, and that's kind of why I made it, because I originally started off with the President's Success Kit, and then the secretaries were like, well, what about me? Okay, there's a Secretary Success Kit in there that kind of teaches you how to take minutes, how long to hang on to records, how to organize your PTO's records so that you're not stuck with banker's boxes full of files. So I highly suggest to check that resource out if you haven't already gotten it for your group. I think it can make a huge difference in starting to capture that institutional knowledge so that you don't have leaders who are graduating, their kids are graduating from the school, moving on to the next school. Maybe they're moving out of state or somewhere else. They're just moving out of the school. And so you need to capture that information so that you can use it to your advantage for the years to come. The other thing that I kind of think is going on is that now, coming out of the pandemic, we have not really updated, but maybe possibly new, adjusted expectations for what the PTO should be doing, or maybe the school has different needs. And so there are different ways for the PTO to get involved and help support those opportunities. So maybe there's a disconnect right there that you need to re-educate parents about the opportunities, because what motivates one person to get involved is not going to be the same for everybody, because we all are working with a different set of skills. For example, I will never be treasurer of any group because I really stink at math, like super duper stink at math. It is embarrassing. I have a law degree, like successfully practiced law for many years, and I fail at basic math skills. So your girl is never going to be treasurer. People even know to ask, or people even know not to ask, because I am so clear and upfront about it that I have many other skills and I have many other reasons for getting involved. It is not to manage the PTO books for any group. So I think once you kind of do this re-education and get more people involved that way, that is going to benefit your group, and you'll start to see the return of a more engaged and more involved parent population. So in the end, this will only serve your PTO in the very best way possible. So I encourage you to kind of think about these issues and that I've brought up today, and think about how you can what you need to do in your school community, because I am positive that one of those issues that I talked about is affecting your group or is happening in your school, amongst your school community, and is negatively impacting your PTO. So I totally hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Want even more guidance on how to be a stronger leader so you can run a better PTO or PTA? All these resources and more are waiting for you at ptoanswers.com.